Welcome to the Illinois State Board of Elections Division of Campaign Disclosure tutorial on who is covered by the Act. In this lesson, we will cover the conditions that, if met, will require your committee to register with the Board of Elections, along with some best practices for new committees. To begin, as previously stated, there are a few conditions that, if met, will require you to register with the Board of Elections. The first condition applies to the acceptance of contributions in excess of $5,000 for political purposes within any 12-month period. This includes monetary contributions that are received from individuals, businesses, associations, labor organizations, and political committees. This also includes in-kind contributions, loans, and personal funds that are spent by an officer or a candidate on behalf of the committee. An in-kind contribution is a gift of goods or services. The second condition is when expenditures in excess of $5,000 are made for political purposes within a 12-month period. These can include, but are not limited to, expenditures for signs, printing, literature, campaign or committee websites, or other direct operational expenses. The last condition that can require the formation of a political committee is when independent expenditures in excess of $5,000 are made within a 12-month period. Simply put, independent expenditures are electioneering communications or express advocacy to support or oppose a public official, a candidate, or a question of public policy, provided that the spending is not made in coordination in any way with any of these entities, their committees, or their campaigns. Note that these conditions are separate when calculating your status in relation to the registration thresholds. The contributions, expenditures, and independent expenditures do not get added together. Once any of the $5,000 thresholds have been crossed, you must register with the Board of Elections by filing a Statement of Organization, Form D1, within 10 business days of crossing the threshold. Special note, committees created in the 30 days before an election must file a Form D1 within 2 business days of crossing the threshold. Now that you have learned about the conditions that require you to register, let's look at a few best practices necessary to keep your new committee running like a well-oiled machine. These best practices fall into the categories of selecting committee officers, banking, and record keeping. One of the first decisions a new committee will need to make is who will serve as the committee's officers. The 2 officers for a registered committee are the chair and treasurer. Per campaign disclosure law, both positions should be filled at all times, as financial transactions cannot be conducted if there is a vacancy in either position. In most cases, the same person, including the candidate, may serve as both the chair and treasurer of a committee. However, judicial candidates cannot be an officer of a committee according to the Code of Judicial Conduct. The committee chair may play a large role within the internal structure of your committee. From a disclosure standpoint, the chair will be the individual tasked with providing general oversight to the committee and will act in accordance with the treasurer to conduct committee business. The committee treasurer will be the main point of contact with the Board of Elections and is responsible for signing reports, ensuring all reports are filed, and maintaining all committee financial records. The committee's financial records must be kept for a period of 2 years, with the exception of records pertaining to raffles, which must be kept for 3 years. It's highly recommended that the committee's treasurer have the necessary time and commitment to perform their required duties, and it's also important they be computer literate if the committee files its reports electronically. Moving on from committee officers, another decision a new committee must make is where to hold their funds. Campaign disclosure laws state that committee funds must not be commingled with any other funds, and as such, a separate account should be created to hold only committee funds. Individual rules regarding opening political committee accounts tend to vary between different financial institutions, so it's important to reach out to the financial institutions to learn their protocols. If a tax identification number is required for your institution, you can contact the Internal Revenue Service for assistance at 829-4933. It's recommended the committee consider having multiple trusted individuals be signatories on the accounts to prevent any situation where access is lost to the accounts. Now that the committee has set up a bank account, the committee should also set up internal record-keeping procedures. Complete and accurate record-keeping procedures are vital not only to a new committee to help determine the committee's creation date and creation amount, but also to all committees as they continue their operations within the state. These procedures should ensure that your committee has all the information that is required for filing all quarterly financial reports, including the full names and addresses of contributors and vendors where funds are received and expended. Additionally, the committee will be required to obtain employer and occupation information for individual contributors that give in excess of $500 in aggregate for a quarter. Remember, these financial records should be maintained for a period of 2 years and all raffle information for 3 years. Finally, good record-keeping procedures will assist your committee in steering clear of prohibited contributions. Campaign disclosure laws prohibit any anonymous contributions, contributions made in the name of another entity, contributions on state property unless rented or leased, and fundraisers by legislative committees or constitutional officers in their committees on days the legislature is in session. Good record keeping will help keep these prohibited contributions at bay. Keep in mind there are also contribution limits to be aware of. Those are discussed in another tutorial. To review, we have covered the different registration thresholds that require a group to register with the Board of Elections, along with some best practices to consider when selecting the committee's officers, setting up bank accounts, and creating record-keeping procedures. For more information, please see our additional campaign disclosure tutorials and publications, or contact campaign disclosure staff in either the Springfield or Chicago offices. Thank you.